All right, so then the time is 7:02. Meetings come to order. So the April meeting of the Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency Board is hereby convened. Compliance with the Jefferson County Health Department Executive Order 2020 Shelter-in-Place Directive to avoid gatherings of more than 5 individuals in an effort to slow the spread of the COVID-19. This meeting will be held via video conferencing, and the public will not be admitted into the building, but is invited to attend via live stream by following the link live board meeting, which will appear on the main page of jcesa.org. Public comment is welcome via email to dlancaster@jcesa.org. All public comment received by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be read during the meeting. And that did not happen. So we do not have any public commentary for this meeting. This meeting is everything from the previous meeting has been deferred to this meeting. So there was no March meeting, and this is the April meeting, and it has been called to order. First order of business is the minutes, and that would be from February 18th. And is there any discussion regarding the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes is read.
Do I get a second?
Second.
No further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those against? All right, it passes unanimously. Next order of business will be the treasurer's report, and Mr. Simpson is not here, so in his stead, Director Alan Kaiser will present the February and March 2020 consolidated financials.
JCESA 2019-2020 overview for the month of February. The 2020 budget approved $3,147,000. This is allocated as follows: ambulance fee department $916,000, and the JCESA department $2,231,000, which included 2 staff. The bank account balances,
Two new staff.
right, 2 new staff. Bank account balances as of 2/29/2020. The general fund $469,773. Payroll $88,990. Ambulance fee $563,295, and the mortgage $138,071. What we spent, what was projected, and year to date, we overrun the full-time salaries, part-time salaries, and overran a little bit onto the overtime. We running under at about $54,000 for the year in total. If you look at 3 pages from the treasurer's report, you'll see the labor wheel, and you'll see that we did have holidays, which included up to 124 hours, 124 hours, 128 hours of overtime for the holiday. And our overtime was down to 2%. Any questions on the budget for February? For the month of March, the approved budget was $3,147,000. The ambulance fee $916,000, and the JCESA general department fee was $2,231,000. Again, 2 new staff. Bank accounts as of 3/31/2020, the general fund $336,290, payroll $68,957, ambulance fee $505,670, the mortgage $131,275. Again, this is for March. Again, what was projected, what we spent, and what's the year in total We overran the full-time salaries, overrun the part-time salaries, which cover when the full-time folks are off, and the overtime was overrun by a short amount. If you look at the labor bill, you'll see that this is incredible, that our overtime was at 0.5%, 29 hours. That's incredible. That tells us that people
Yeah.
coming to work. Yes. I'm sorry. That tells us that people are coming to work and not calling out, and so we don't have to do as much backfill, and each of these positions is 100% backfill. So with that being said, are there any questions on either of the reports? February and March.
Discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who actually made the initial motion and who seconded for the secretary to record?
I made the motion.
Okay. And
Dr. Treese is online now. Sorry,
that?
I was a little late.
Dr.
Dr. Treese is online now.
so who made the motion?
I did.
Ronnie.
Ronnie Shelton.
He can't. Alan can't.
I did. Bob Foss.
Oh, Bobby
Okay, all
Foss,
right.
okay.
And who's the second?
Dr. Ronnie.
All right. Who seconded it?
Jane Tab, wasn't it?
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. That comes down to we're next up is the chairman's report. That'd be me. I'm going to read the retirement letter from Lieutenant Monty Connor. Should be in the packet that you received via email from Debbie. And it's dated April 14th, 2020. And it says, Dear JCESA Board of Directors, Chief Alan Kaiser and Captain Bob Berner, it is with bittersweet emotion that I inform you of my upcoming retirement. I will be retiring effective July 1st, 2020. My last day with the JCESA as a full-time employee will be June 3rd, 2020. I am asking for consideration of staying on as a part-time employee. The West Virginia State Office of EMS made changes to the recertification process, which renders my unexpired paramedic card useless now. I'm asking for a leave of absence effective July 1st, 2020, while I work on getting my card recertified. I would appreciate it. I have to say that in my 31 and a half years in EMS, I have been in 3 systems: the volunteer system in which I got my start, Berkeley County EMS, and JCESA. Although there have been bumps in the road, I consider myself very blessed to be able to provide a needed service for so long that I've gotten paid to do and am able to draw a retirement check from. I have been blessed to be part of the JCESA for about 9.5 years as of July. It all started when the director, Doug Pittenger, believing in me, with then Director Doug Pittenger believing in me. Easy for me to say. For that, I am eternally grateful. I have seen people come and people go. I have seen many changes, most for the best. Some of the biggest change is you, the board of directors. My belief is that we have the best board makeup yet. It's not enough to just provide for the county. You must have faith in your leadership and employees. Your employees are your number one asset. I have seen the tide change from our employees being on the back burner, if you will, to being valued for what they bring to the table. Thank you for looking out for their well-being. We saw Chief Fouget move us into the world of firefighting. That was something I was sure would not happen before my retirement. We continue to see good things. I've seen a swing to doing all sorts of good things, from looking out for employees' physical and mental well-being to a career ladder that gives employees something to shoot for. I can't even begin to express how lucky we are to have the leadership we have right now. They are simply the best. I have never experienced a better chief than Chief Kaiser or a better captain than Bob Burner. They do an amazing job. The level of respect they have given me and the rest of the employees is outstanding. They have shown that they are there beside us, not in front of us. I love and respect them. Please continue to assist them and support them. They will not lead you wrong. In closing, before I get teardrops on the keyboard, I tell you, I'm getting a lump in my throat. Thank you all for the amazing opportunity to deliver EMS service to the citizens of Jefferson County. It has been an honor serving as a lieutenant at the JCESA. I have fond memories that I will always treasure. To Alan and Bob, my leaders and my friends, thank you for everything. I may be ending a career by you. I may be ending a career by you, but you will always remain my friends. Love you both. That is warm regards, Monty Connor, Monty L. Connor. Wow. What can you say? All right.
So question on that, is that something that we have to discuss? As in, or is that a personnel thing there, Alan? Are you guys weighing the option of making him a part-time employee?
That's an operation thing, and that's, I think, up to the director.
Got you. Okay.
That'll be discussed later.
Yeah.
I'll support it if that's the case. And if he needs a leave and to get his paramedic status taken care of, then I support that as well. So.
This is Dr. Treese. I'm online now, and I will do anything I can to help Monty out. I truly think that it's kind of unfair what's happened. He's gone through all of his processes that he should, and at this point, it seems like a dead end, but I completely support him.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Next up on the chairman's report is the review and approve changes to the ordinance to dissolve and reconstitute the Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency and the bylaws of the Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency regarding additional citizen board member. That was included in your packet. And is there any discussion on the changes to the bylaws? Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
That was Bob.
Yes,
Do I
sir.
get a second?
And Tony will put forth a second.
Tony, second.
Tony.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Passes unanimously. That concludes the chairman's report. Next up is the association report.
Elliot, can I just ask a quick question back to that ordinance? When will that position be advertised?
That's up to the county commission.
Okay.
Yep. So whenever the county commission puts it on their agenda and schedule, that's when it'll happen.
Do we have to get that on their agenda? Or how does that go about, Ms. Jean?
Let's see, I had lost, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking it's somewhat fallen off the table with the recent events, but I will remind the staff and see if we can get that going again. We've had a few emergency meetings and special meetings and so forth, so I'll work on that.
Yeah, this is Nathan. If you'll recall, this happened just before all the C-19 stuff happened, and so it just created a sort of a vacuum here. But so that's
I was
what
just inquiring
happened
what
to
the
it.
process on how do you get something like that on the agenda. Oh, you know,
Well, someone has to place it on the agenda. I imagine that Jane would be more than willing to do that. We've just had so many issues related to the C-19 that it's kind of squeezed most everything else out, but we'll get it rolling.
Right, and there's a process to go through. It has to be advertised and so forth. So we just can't just put it on the agenda. We've got to get the staff to initiate the advertising and so forth, and then put it on the agenda for a decision.
excellent.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Thank you. All right. So then the next item is the association report. Mr. Schutz.
Please call me Ronnie. That makes me feel old.
All right, Ronnie.
I don't have a whole lot. I just wanted to, everybody that's pretty much on was at the Joint County Commission and Fire and Rescue Association meeting. So I just wanted to put out there to the ones that wasn't there. It was a very productive meeting, I thought. And unfortunately, the COVID thing come along, and we haven't been able to meet since then. We did agree to meet for a workshop every quarter, but the the Fire and Rescue Association agreed to comply with the president and the governor's orders as far as social distancing. So we're not going to have any more meetings until some of that is lifted. So we've been doing a little bit of work offline. As far as different things, we did purchase 1,000 masks. The association did for the departments and the ESA. And that's about all that's gone on so far. So hopefully we'll get to have a meeting soon with ourselves and the county commission so we can move forward with trying to come up with different budget ideas.
Okay. Good.
Very good. All right, next item of business is the director's report. Director Kaiser.
All right, thank you. First up is the FEMA grant update, and that would be our grant coordinator, Caleb Taylor.
All right, good evening, guys. Currently, the grant is continuing to prepare for the closeout process with FEMA. At this time, all physicals are canceled due to Amherst Family Practice not actively providing stress tests for the physicals. I'll let you know when these open back up. Currently, we're exploring the option of trying to receive an extension to the grant when the process opens up for it. Due to the coronavirus and, extenuating circumstances preventing us from providing our full recruitment and retention efforts. Obviously, if everything's shut down, we really can't do much about it. FEMA is notified and said that, they may consider automatically extending grants beyond based off of this, but at this time, they have not reached a decision. As I find out more, I'll let you know more, but that's everything that I have for this evening.
All righty.
Very good. Thank you, Caleb. It's been a long road this last 4 days. We've spent a lot of time with FEMA and working with them and making sure the funding is correct, and it is. And thank you, Caleb, for follow-up, and you did a good job, and now we'll be able to pay for some physicals. So good job.
Thank you.
The next thing on the list that I have is a document that you have in your packet. I'll only read the caption on the open part. It's our staffing priorities. The purpose of the document is to define the goals that will guide allocation of the Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency staffing and the objectives that will be carried out and for those goals. The document concludes with a staffing sequence plan which lists in order where and when each newly funded staffing position will be assigned. We feel that the agency needs this document as we move forward with our budgets and the staffing requests that we put in. And once we receive staffing, where we will place them. The goals for this document is the staffing strategy of the JCESA is focused on two primary goals. Number one is safety. And you're looking at the industry best business practice, which is safety and reducing response time. So when you look at call volume, those are the places that we certainly want to reduce the call time with the volume. The objective is to achieve these goals in accordance with the best practices. Our staffing objectives are to staff in pairs at a minimum. Number two, allocate staffing resources in line with incident volume. So as just covered in our goals in the beginning, that's exactly where we want to be. And that's what we do. That's what I have done, and Bob Burner, the captain in charge of ops, has done when we go and ask for staffing on our budget request for the volunteer stations, is that's the objective and that's the goals, to make it safer for everybody, the ESA employees and the volunteers in the station. So the objective is to move away from staffing a single person at any given place at any given time. And I don't think there's anybody at the 7 stations leadership, whether it's presidents or chiefs or the operational folks or anyone here at the ESA that can say anything against that. We want to go away from single person staffing, and that's the goal. Having one provider assigned presents safety risks that are eliminated when 2 or more people are present. A lone person at the station is more valuable to number 1 of safety risk. So one person driving the unit doesn't do a whole lot in the front of that cab. First off, they have to wait, depending on the call type that it is, how serious it may be.
Yeah.
Serious calls, they can leave. The non-serious calls, they have to stay and wait the time out. And if nobody shows up, they can take off and go. But in the cab, working the NDC up front, in the directions, getting the information, how important that is today with the COVID information and all. And that's one of the first things that dispatchers say is, have you checked your CAD for the report? So it's pretty tough driving and leaning over, looking at that small computer screen to do that. Also, looking at intersections, traffic clearance, and just being safe getting to the scene. So that's the staffing priority. It's several pages in this document, and it covers the Monday through Friday and the Saturday, Sunday staffing, where we're at now and where we would like to go with our staffing priorities. We're looking for someone to adopt. We would adopt this in the agency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this as a overall goal for the ESA to follow.
Go
I'll
ahead.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you to Captain Burner for putting that document together. It's well done.
It is.
The next thing on the list is the paid coronavirus leave resolution. And that's certainly a discussion action for this. Again, it's the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act. The FFCRA provides paid sick leave and not charged against the employee's leave balance to certain employees for specified reasons related to COVID-19. Again, this document, if you read it through, I know that we've had conversations with Nathan, and I'm certainly sure Nathan's going to weigh in on this. But if you have read through the document on all sections of that, where we want to take care of our employees, make sure that they're covered if they in fact are off the floor or have to be off the floor, whether it's a day, a shift, a daytime, 24-hour, or the 14-day quarantine time. So if you read it, it's discussion actions. I won't read all that to you.
So with
Yeah.
regard to this falls under the rubric of the PPP, I mean, the Paycheck Protection Plan. Is there federal involvement in this through any one of these programs?
Here, if you don't mind, Simon, I'll just weigh in for a second. Essentially, the federal law basically allows governments to exempt certain employees from the law if the government so chooses. And first responders, you don't have to exempt them, but you can. The county commission, for example, chose not to exempt their first sheriff and 911 folks. But the essence of this policy would be under the act for
You're
paid
coming in real
administrative
choppy,
leave.
buddy.
Sorry.
Nathan, we're losing you on audio. You might have to use your phone.
All right, hang on 1 second. I'll switch.
No, we
have you
hear
loud and
you.
clear.
We hear you clear.
Here we do.
Oh, okay.
I think you just stopped talking is what happened.
Okay. Well, maybe I fell asleep. It here's under the act, there are certain rights that are granted, or ability to get some administrative leave and paid leave and that kind of thing. I will tell you, just as a general basis for all this is very fluid, and it's been evolving since the day that it came out. There's been a bunch of changes. Stephanie Grove, the county administrator, and Michelle, and to some extent myself, have been trying to understand it. And I say that because, there's no precedent. There's been no interpretation of it. And some of the language was really quite confusing. It's my understanding they put this act together in just a few days. Normally, an act like this takes months and months and months to put together. And so it was a little rough. The understanding of it is still evolving, and we're studying that. But with that said, the county commission has adopted a policy, and I think maybe you all have seen that. If not, we can send it to you, regarding their employees. My understanding from my conversations with Alan and with Bob, that they wanted to go in the direction of exempting the first responders for the ESA. And so that would exempt them from coverage of getting certain kinds of paid leave. However, because Alan and Bob want to take care of the employees, they wanted to establish basically a policy where under some circumstances, the first responders could get some administrative leave if they've contracted the virus or been exposed, and there's a variety of circumstances that are in that document. Bob drafted this document, and good first shot at it, Bob. I personally don't believe that it is quite ready to be adopted as it's written. I would suggest that if the ESA wants to adopt something like this, that you would approve it in principle. We do this at the county commission all the time, where the county commission basically approves something and then leaves it to staff to work out the exact details. So if you all would choose to adopt this sort of policy, and that's your decision, not mine, but if you choose to adopt this sort of policy, then you could approve in principle point one, that the JCESA exempts all first responders from the provisions of the federal act. But two, the ESA adopts a policy to allow some administrative leave with pay for emergency responders under certain circumstances, which includes some of that list of 5 things, some of those things. 3, that the responders wouldn't be compensated if they were to at work catch this virus because of their failure to wear personal protective equipment. There might be some adjustment about the number of hours of administrative leave. That says 96. The federal law says 80. Although, we're exempting ourselves from the federal law.
But Nathan, I got a question on that.
Yes.
Oh,
ahead.
if our employees are paid on a biweekly pay period, a pay cycle, that is a 96-hour pay cycle. Most
get it.
normal Monday through Friday jobs is an 80-hour, for 2 weeks is an 80-hour pay period. So the
understand.
difference in the national standard is our employees are paid on a 96-hour basis. So
I
if you were,
understand. And if you do what I'm suggesting, which is approve this in principle, and we work out the details, we may end up with a 96-hour. I'm still examining some of the aspects of the law to make sure that I think that would be okay. Anyway, that's where I would be with it. I would suggest you not adopt the document as written in front of you. You do approve in principle the concept if that's what you're choosing to do, and then we'll work out the details. This is really an employee policy that I think that Alan has the authority to act. I think that Alan wanted to bring it to you because it does have a potential to have a financial impact on the ESA, and that's why I wanted to be certain that you all agreed with the concept. Okay, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Well, here's the question I have, is that I want to be absolutely clear what an exempt employee, what that means, what's the definition of that? Because like when you're saying that there are some people that get sent home because they are with businesses that have been deemed somehow through some emergency order to be non-essential. But it's pretty clear that first responder employees are essential employees. So how does all that fit together in terms of the definitions? Because I just want to get that absolutely clear in my head.
Well, it is kind of complicated, but I think generally, all of the ESA employees that are first responders would be essential employees. They're going to be working. What this mostly works out to be is if a person contracts this virus, or they are exposed to the virus in a way that they have to be quarantined and not not allowed to work in effect because they're under quarantine, that's when this would kick in.
All right, so then is there a difference then as to whether or not they contract the virus in the performance of their work or not in the performance of their work on their own private time? Is there some sort of difference between how those two circumstances are treated?
well, I think that's a burden of proof. How are you going to prove it wasn't on the job as opposed to on the job? You have non-symptomatic people, we're seeing them now, and at work, we have non-symptomatic people that wind up testing positive down the road or after the fact. And there has to be a strong reason, and again, it might be different here. There has to be a strong reason to have a patient tested for the COVID-19. If they are not symptomatic upon the arrival at the ER, I was in the ER myself for 4.5 hours last week with an abdominal issue. I was not tested for COVID. So it's not that everybody is tested.
So I guess, I mean, like, if you could determine it, is there a difference in treatment?
I think it would be a distinction without a difference, just because you can't, it's very difficult to determine that where they contracted the virus. So I think the essence of this policy would be, if you have these symptoms, if you have the C19 actually, or if you're under some kind of quarantine, that sort of thing. I think there's like 5 points in that document that talks about that. So I think that the essence of the policy would be to adopt most of those points there.
This is
I'm
Dr.
still
Trees.
debating about
I'd just
number
like
one.
to comment. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Trees.
There's no way to differentiate if they got it from work or from home. I think we just need to treat it as if they're a frontline worker who got it, and just leave it at that.
I have a question for Dr. Tracy. Maybe you can answer this, or Nathan. What's Berkeley County doing with their first responders, or what's the hospital doing for healthcare professionals that are required to be on the job? Like, how are they managing coverage, and how is this impacting them and pay and all that? Because they're essential workers too.
Yes, so there's definitely been a drop in volume in ED visits, hospital admissions. Basically, the hospitals are running on very low volume, all of them. Nobody's coming to the hospital currently. So if we have an employee that we have put out on quarantine, we're still paying them because they could have contracted it at work. So you can never piece out whether they got it from the community or at work. If they're a frontline provider, then you have to just assume they got it from the front line.
Well, that's what I suspected, is that I was just asking is if hypothetically, you know, would there be a difference in treatment? And I understand, Dr. Treese, that in the real world, it would be treated exactly as you just stated. So I think we're good. It's interesting though, in terms of, you know, how you're describing volume of, you know, flow of traffic. Anecdotally, I have a friend who's a nurse, and he said that he had his on-call canceled today because there's just there's nobody coming into the hospital. So
I will tell you, universally, all healthcare providers are lack of work. And if it hasn't hit you yet, it's coming.
yeah,
People
interesting.
are not coming to the hospital. They're doing what they're told. They're staying at home, but it is impacting all hospitals, all volumes in outpatient, inpatient, laboratory, radiology are all hitting rock bottom.
Yeah. They're ghost towns, just like downtown Charlestown. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, is there any further discussion on this? All right. So then, as per Nathan's suggestion, if somebody could make a motion on this based on what Nathan had suggested, in that it be adopted in principle, however, based on working out the details, having the lawyers dot the i's and cross the t's subsequently, and then perhaps once that happens, we might have to come back and re-vote on it, so that we understand what the lawyers and other professionals have done. Is somebody prepared to make that motion?
Go ahead.
I'm a little apprehensive on blindly approving a policy. The caveat I would like to put into that is pending the approval of the ESA board. I don't want to blindly approve a political policy or a political stance to protect our people.
So then, what I think I'm hearing you say is that you are proposing a motion that to approve this policy. However, if there are changes made to the policy by legal advice, that it come back for a revote.
Yes.
And I would suggest, if you're going to do that, just don't do anything, and we'll try to spiff the policy up a little bit, and you set a new meeting in a couple of days. And that's, you know, that's the way to do that, I would think. I'm sorry, Miss Jane, I think I stepped on you.
That's okay. I was going to make a motion, but it sounds like folks want to wait. But
So one person. Yeah, I'm only one person.
well, let me put this motion out there and see if it is agreeable to everyone. That we that the board approve in principle the paid leave related to COVID-19 policy, the interim policy as presented, but with final ratification by the board after legal counsel has finalized details.
Well, Nathan's already suggested that we don't do that, but,
Well, I mean, I don't want to approve this policy that's in front of you because I don't think it's quite ready. And so, if, that's why I suggested going the route that I suggested. But if you don't, and I do that because I think that Alan has the authority to enter a policy, but he understandably wants you all to know what's going on. And so, I would just suggest that we just schedule a meeting, in a couple days, and we'll bring back what we consider to be the final draft, if that's what you want to do.
so then, what
Yep.
is everybody's availability then for what we would call a supplemental meeting later on this week?
Well, time is of the essence here with this policy, given that we're in the middle of the situation. So this needs to happen pretty quick.
All right, how soon, Nathan, do you think that we could get some sort of legal clarification on this?
Well, you have to have a notice for your meeting. So that would have to be a minimum of 2 days. So it would have to be, today's Tuesday, it'd have to be probably Friday at the earliest as a special meeting,
Okay.
or Monday as a regular meeting.
Is everybody available Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so if everybody is available Friday, why don't we schedule a meeting for Friday at 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock in the evening? Is that, or do we want to do it in the afternoon?
That would be preferable to me, but I don't know what everybody else's schedule is, so.
I'm home, so everything's,
All
I'm
day.
good.
So let's say Friday at, let's say 3 o'clock. Is that?
Okay.
All right. All right.
It works.
All right.
Yeah, good.
All right.
Okay, so Alan, then you would have to get your folks to notice this for a special meeting at that time. And it would be to consider a leave policy related to the CRA.
We'll get it.
Somebody gonna set out a invitation with the WebEx meeting information?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so
Friday at 3.
can I get a motion then to table this until 3 o'clock Friday?
I make a motion to table this till 3 o'clock Friday.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Passes unanimously. All right, that concludes the director's report.
Chairman, that's it.
Okay. Board members' requests, I've inserted something that I wanted to ask. And that is, did the E911 meeting happen on April 15th?
No, it did not.
Okay. Has there been any update about the software modifications that Jeff talked about? And perhaps also he was going to look into the second due call processes and procedures. Is there any update on that?
I have not heard anything.
This is Dr. Treese. I attend their meetings every month. They have instituted that, and they are in the process already of putting out the early alerts. I will say with the COVID epidemic, we've made some changes in some things, adding in the screening questions for possible COVID patients. But yes, they have already implemented the changes that we've requested.
Very good.
And they've also implemented screening questions for the sheriff's department, not only for medical response, because there's more domestic calls. So that's, a new twist on their responding too.
Okay.
I would just like to say overall, I'm very impressed that Jeff has made a lot of changes and he's trying to accommodate and help us and do what we need.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Dr. Treese. And does anybody know when their next meeting is going to be?
I imagine it'll happen when COVID's over.
Yeah, I don't know when the next meeting specifically for the 911 committee will happen, but I actually have a meeting tomorrow, just a scheduled meeting for the general emergency command center meeting, and I can update you guys after that tomorrow.
Okay.
And I know everybody's done this, emergency responders, but E911 has really made an effort in our maintenance department to clean between shifts and so forth. And they're keeping teams on their shifts, because you knock out a shift, one person has it or brings it to everyone else. We're really going to be down at E911. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Thank you.
have been involved in a possible case that was early in the process back in February, and I did recommend some quarantining, and they followed those commands, and all of those employees are back at work now, just to give you an update.
Good.
Oh, great. Glad to hear that. Okay, so that brings us to unfinished business.
Wait. Gus, I just wanted to know if there's any update to the civil action, and then if there is, I mean, maybe that requires executive session. I don't know if there's an update or not.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, well.
It's not
okay.
on the agenda. I will just report back to you that most court actions and things related to court have been postponed.
Okay.
I think that the courts are closed as of right now until May the 4th. And
Which is
deadlines have been
why-
extended.
Which is exactly why it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, so then we have unfinished business. Before we get to Nathan's status report, the discussion of the ESA's role as acting fire board, and attached to your packet is Senate Bill number 224, West Virginia Code, that Commissioner Tabb had provided. I would like to suggest that we move that to a meeting in which we're all together and can discuss it in person, because it might get a little unwieldy trying to discuss that at this time. Can I get a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion. We delay the discussion on Senate Bill 224 and West Virginia Code, Chapter 7, Article 17.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Is there any opposition to the Fire Rescue Association sitting in on that discussion as well?
Well, I was going to open up to discussion. So, all right, now any further discussion? So now that you brought that up.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to sit down and have some talks with the Fire Rescue Association. And we've brought this up a couple times in the past. I think we should get both boards together really and have a sit down conversation.
The only reason I'm saying to delay it, I do think we need to be in the room and talking, and it's not going to be one conversation solves all the, makes all the issues clear or so forth. So that's my only reason in delaying it at this time. But I agree with your approach that we need more than just the ESA board together, but maybe the board should have a discussion and fire and rescue have a discussion, then come together too. I don't know the best approach.
Well, I agree with both of you that it's going to be a process, because we need to get this body up to speed with regard to these responsibilities that have kind of laid dormant for quite some time. So,
Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
Has this discussion come up with you guys at all? thoughts, feelings,
Not,
opinions?
not in official capacity. But well, I do agree that maybe the ESA board should meet first and then, kind of hash out, I mean, like a fact finding thing or however you want to approach it, and then bring the Fire and Rescue Association in and then meet, because from what I'm gathering, I'm thinking a lot of the ESA board members have questions that maybe I can answer, and we won't have to have a 3-hour meeting for everybody's opinion on answers that I can answer.
Yeah, I go along with that. I think you're right. I mean, we need to study this ordinance. I mean, this 224, Senate Bill 224. And we need to study it, analyze it, and discuss it. And then I think probably what Ronnie's saying is the right way to go. So any other thoughts on this matter in terms of the process here? Okay. So then,
I would just point out that the county commission is the, obviously the overarching organization here. And there are a variety of things that have to be considered. As I'm the attorney, I help you all out. I'm the attorney for the county commission and all of its agencies. And so I am looking at a whole variety of issues that the county commission has tasked me with looking at. Unfortunately, we were delayed for a while in this by the whole budget process. And then shortly after that, the C-19 process came up. And, I quite frankly have not had any time. I mean, it's been unreal, and I'm sure it has been with all of you first responders. But, I've been working day and night on a whole bunch of things. It's like, I want to go back to work just so I can get a little rest, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's been crazy. So that's been a big reason for the delay in looking at these issues. I'm just saying.
right,
So,
no, I
hopefully
completely,
we'll be able to get back to speed on it soon.
completely understandable. So then we have a motion, a first and a second, regarding postponing discussion of the ESA's role as the fire board. And so if there's no further discussion, let's just have a vote on that particular motion. And then we'll turn the meeting over to Nathan because he's got the rest of the unfinished and new business that's on the agenda. So is there
And for the same reason, I would move to, or ask you to move to defer the discussion about the Open Meetings Act to hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to be together. And it's so much easier to look at documents and talk about things. I wanted to bring that up to the board just because there are several new board members. And I think that it would be a useful
Well, let's
thing for you to see.
let's take one issue at a time then. So let's first get a vote on the fire board issue where we already have a first and a second. And I would, if it's okay, I'd like to amend the motion to say that we don't discuss it until we have a meeting in which we are all present. So
Okay.
can I get a motion on that amendment first?
I accept the amendment to my motion.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, it carries unanimously. Then next, in terms of the discussion of the Open Meetings Act, can we get similar motion to postpone that discussion?
For the open meetings,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table the Open Meetings Act until discussion until the meeting, we're all together.
Do I get a second?
Second,
Ronnie can't, he's not a voting member. Can I get a second?
Bob.
Bob?
Did.
Okay. All right, Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those against? All right, that passes unanimously. Then the only other unfinished business is the status of the report to the county commission regarding fire ambulance issues. Nathan?
That's that's the same issue.
Okay.
I have not really delivered a report to them because of that. So I keep. It's a very complicated matter. There's lots of moving parts, and I am trying to finalize something to bring to the county commission while I've been working at home. Unfortunately, I haven't had one second to work on it since we instituted the work at home policy, because there's just been a landslide of issues. You just wouldn't believe it. And but soon we will be able to have a report to the county commission, and then we can come to you and inform you. I wanted to inform you of what I had discussed with the county commission about some of these issues. So,
All right, so then for lack of something to discuss, we will defer that to a future meeting.
So how do we set this? Are we looking 6 months? Are we looking 2 months? Are we looking, how do we determine the development of this? Obviously, Nathan, you've got a lot of work to do because you're representing the commission and B, a gazillion different organizations within Jefferson County. How do we proceed with something like this to streamline a process and to make these items, because other people, Parks and Rec, Sheriff's Department, whatever, have important information, libraries, whatever, have important stuff. So how do we do that?
Are you talking to me?
Broad spectrum. How do we help you with a process?
Well, I don't know. There's just a variety of things that I'm looking at right now, and at this moment, I don't really have anything for you to do. Whenever we get rolling a little bit, I'm sure, as you had suggested, and I think Jane had echoed, there need to be further discussions amongst the groups about where they want to take this. Again, it does go back to the county commission, though, as far as organizing the ambulance issues in the county. The statutory authority does rest with them for sure, and I'm certain that they are very interested in trying to do what they feel is the best thing for the citizens of the county, the best thing for the budgetary restraints that we're all under. There's some impact there that we don't really know what the answer to those budgetary questions are, simply because of this C-19 issue has really placed the county in a very difficult situation. And so that would be, so I anticipate at some point in the future that there would be more discussions between the ESA and the fire chiefs and that sort of thing. Right now, we're just sort of in a holding pattern, and I am researching a variety of legal issues as I can.
All right, so then I'm going to take that as you have just given us a status of a report to the county commission, and ongoing, if you have further discussion regarding that status, you just let Debbie know to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. All right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, so, then that brings, that pretty much, I mean, we don't have public comment. We normally have board member comment. I have a comment, and I just simply want to say that I want to commend Bob Berner for the great reporting he's been doing and keeping us apprised of what's going on. So that's my board member comment. Any further comments?
Now, I just want to echo what you said, Simon. I know Bob has put in countless hours and Alan too, and I'm concerned about their personal protective equipment. And so I know we all are, that supplies at times look like they're getting severely low, but Bob is a hound dog on the trail for PPE, and I appreciate everyone's efforts and everyone showing up for work. I mean, we've got people that want to go to work, and that is awesome.
Any further board member comments? All right, so,
This is Dr. Treese. I just wanted to say that I do agree that JCSA is doing a great job, and we are constantly evolving in our PPE usage and protections. And I would just like to commend all of JCSA for doing such a great job of taking care of these COVID patients. We've definitely had some come through the EMS system, and I just think everybody's doing a great job.
thank you. Any other comments? All right, we have a meeting coming up this Friday at 3 o'clock. Same circumstances, we'll be here. I thank everybody for getting up to speed on the technology and being able to attend this meeting. All right, this meeting is adjourned. See you all on Friday at 3.
All right.
Actually, wait a second, I'm reminded. Do I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 This meeting is adjourned at 8:05.
Have a
Everybody
good
be
evening,
safe. Be
everyone.
well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.